So do I just call for the applicants for
So if you can
application
read the agenda
21-9, or
with the
just
application
read the whole
number,
thing?
just read the agenda, and start with the first application. That's the legal notice.
Okay. So public hearing for application 21-09 of Tom and Laura Nigro, owners applicants for variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.9, to allow a stairwell within the front yard setback at the property located at 41 Canal Street, Assessors map F15, block 115, and lot 1, zone R45. So zone R15. B, application 21-10 of Freedom Property LLC, CO Luke Florian, applicant Iron Horse LLC / owner, for variances pursuant to the Simsbury Center Code Regulations, section 2.4.2G, to allow parking, a carport, and dumpster within the rear yard setback at the property located at 969 Hot Meadow Street, Assessors map H08, block 116, lot 041, zone SCZ. And application 21-11 of Richard Felcher, owner applicant for a variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.5.1, to construct a 10-foot by 16-foot shed within the front yard at the property located at 66 Pine Glen Road, Assessors map D18, block 208, and lot 121, zone R40. And then is there any more I read, or just that bit?
And we can see if there's anybody here for the first application who wants to present.
Okay, is there anyone here for to present for application 21-09 of Tom and Laura Nigro? Is Tom or Laura Nigro here?
Okay.
Right.
They told me that they would be able to attend. So if you want, we can table that application and move on to the second.
Yeah, could I hear a motion to table it? Or do I need a motion, or can I?
You can just go ahead and table it for right now.
I'll table that for right now. Is there anyone here on behalf of Freedom Property, application 21-10?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For the record, TJ Donahue, Killian and Donahue, and I represent the applicant or the principal of the applicant, Luke Florian, and the applicant. Luke is here, and he should probably unmute his mic so that he can participate in this. He holds an option to purchase the Iron Horse Inn, which I think probably all of you are familiar with, on Hot Meadow Street. It's presently a motel. It's been on the market and is for sale because it's could very easily be considered functionally obsolete, and we believe that its functional obsolescence is the reason why Luke's variances that he requests would allow him to redo this and make it into a apartment building, a boutique apartment building in Simsbury. I'm going to introduce him for a minute for you to let him tell you who he is and what his specific plans are for the building.
Great, thanks for that, TJ, and thank you all for being here. So I'm Luke Florian with Freedom Property, and I'm a real estate developer from Southington, Connecticut, and I specialize in the redevelopment of buildings, which I then rent and manage. So, I've really always liked the Simsbury market, the Simsbury area, and I'm real excited to invest in your community there in Simsbury. And ultimately, by converting the, as TJ mentioned, the functionally obsolete motel into a niche boutique apartment building from its current function as a 28-unit motel with older units and just crumbling and non-functional pool and parking lot, we're looking to convert it into a 27 unit, more or less luxury apartment building with the removal of the pool and expansion of the parking lot, and even a COVID friendly seating area, if you will, in the back. And then also I'd like to do a real architecturally appealing carport, which I think would be nice, and even serve some of the neighbors in the back to kind of mute the noise from some of the traffic and the parking and the cars coming in and out. And to do that, as noted in the requested variances, we'll need to make those adjustments to the setbacks in order to bring the property from functionally obsolete into something that, or a building that would be an asset to the town of Simsbury and really kind of help beautify the downtown area. So,
on the application, Mr. Chairman, you have a staff report from Laura Barkowski dated yesterday. We accept all of its observations and are respectfully requesting the variances to be granted. We do notice on the Zoom call that Mr. Joseph is there. To the west of this property, there's only one abutter. He has a uniquely shaped lot because of the way Oxford Court was laid into the side of the hill. And the applicant would like him to know, first of all, we'd like to hear what he has to say, but we'd also like him to know that we'll accommodate anything that we can to make sure that his house, which is really the only residence which is really affected by this, is treated in the most favorable manner.
Seth, would you like to speak? I think you might still be muted.
Or his volume could be down.
Yeah, we can't hear you. We still can't hear you, Seth.
I've had this before. If he has a cell phone, he could put a cell phone on speaker and it would, he possibly could call into you, Josh.
Yeah, you could.
Sure.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
that's fine. Do we have a, I don't know, is there a number that it can be called into, or is?
I think he's. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on the
then-
invite. Wherever he's got the link, he can call in from the email.
In the meantime, is there anyone else from the public who is interested in speaking on this application?
I am. Dr. Michael Williams, I am an abutter. I'm not on the list of abutters, but I am interested in hearing a little bit about the position of the carports, what they're manufacturing, the structure, what it's going to look like, how high it's going to be. We're going to be taking down a pool. I understand that it's not functional, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. I don't know if this is the venue to also ask about the efficiencies that are proposed. I've been told that they're one-room efficiencies. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. I don't know if this is the venue to have that conversation or not, but I'd like to hear just about as much as we can possibly do. But let's start, because it's a variance meeting on the carport. Let's start exactly where they're going to be on the property.
If you could just state your address for the record, please.
965 Hot Meadow Street.
Thank you.
Dr. Luke will respond to that. Generally, the carports are going to be squadroned along the western perimeter of the property. not north or south, but opposite the street. And Luke will tell you what the plan is for the materials and the size. They're a one-story carport, but go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's as TJ mentioned, it'll be a one-story carport. It's still in the design phase right now, but I can assure you, anything that we do will be going to the design board, and we'll have to get approved before we construct anything. But it's going to be definitely architecturally tasteful. I mean, this isn't. We have professional architects on our team that are helping us with the full design, and it's going to be a major improvement to the property. I can assure you.
From a process point of view, it's subject to design review board, is my understanding.
Correct.
Mr. Kowski, and to the site plan approval. And in the process of that approval, I'm sure that Luke would spend time with you and go over materials and everything else before they get to design review.
Gladly do that for sure.
So my initial question is you're applying for a variance of approximately 2 feet, is that correct? And so you're applying for a variance of something that you don't know how it's going to be constructed or what it is or its appearance, yet you're asking for a 2-foot variance. So my question is how do you apply for a variance on something that you don't know yet what's going to be constructed as of yet?
We've done our preliminary plans based upon the spatial ability of the site to accommodate it. There's no requirement to specify materials at this time. We are requesting the relief of this board, and we will diligently honor if granted the variance will be our design criteria for the location of that structure. Not uncommon either. Luke, would you tell the doctor, please, the number of existing apartment units and the number of units that you would tend to yield on the project?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you mentioned efficiency units. So right now there's 28 motel rooms, which consists of motel rooms and the owner's suite on the lower level. So what our proposal is, the current layout has 18 one bedrooms that are actually a good size, and then 9 efficiency units that are actually rather large. They could almost be 1 bedrooms in their own right. So that's the proposed unit mix that we're looking at right now.
So what square footage?
The square footages, I can't give you the exact square footages because we're playing with floor plans right now to be the most, cost effective and user friendly for our future residents. But I can tell you right now, we have 7 units on the lower level. So the lower slab on grade level, and 10 units on the second and 10 units on the third.
How much of the structure are you going to reuse, Luke?
I'd say over 50%.
Meaning studs or existing electrical?
Yeah, we're trying to reuse as much of the existing structure as possible.
Okay, and I see we have a caller on. Would that be Seth?
Steve just joined.
Hey, sorry.
Should I at this point should a motion be made to make Steve the chair for the rest of the meeting, or?
You're doing a great job.
Keep going, Josh. I'm good with it.
All right. So it looks like Seth is still muted. I don't know if we're able to get him in with audio.
I think you still have the phone.
Yeah, I don't know. Does anyone is there anything we could potentially do about it to make sure we do hear from him?
He should be able to talk directly on his phone if he called in. I don't know.
Don't know if that's his telephone number at the bottom. I did admit a caller around the same time. Oh, he is. Very
Yes,
interesting.
okay.
If
So has he tried to unmute? He's not, is he unmuted?
he is
Looks like
unmuted.
it.
Yeah.
And even on the, did you try looking like at the far right of your screen? Look at the far right of your screen on the bottom.
How about now?
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
There you
great.
go.
Okay. Yeah, my concern was that the
Sorry,
boundary.
could you just say your address for the record?
I'm at 12 Oxford Court, Simsbury, and I'm on Oxford Court. I'm right directly in back of the hotel or
Thank you.
apartments. And I was just concerned. I was just going to ask where the retaining wall is going to replace the fence that's in back, or is that going to be closer in to my property? The 8 foot, the variance is going to push the construction, the ability to construct closer to my the lot barrier of my lot. Is that correct? Can you hear me?
I believe so. Is that correct, Luke?
Yes.
It's
So the-
as it's shown on the plan, Mr. Joseph.
Okay, so the fence will be, the existing fence will be removed, and there'll be a retaining wall there, and almost in the same spot, or perhaps 2 feet further back from where it is the most. That's true, right? That's correct.
Correct.
Okay. And what will I'll see a carport when I look out. I'll see parking spaces and a roof of a carport.
Yeah, most likely.
Okay, and the dumpster will be pushed back a couple of feet too, and there'll be a house around, like a barrier around the dumpster. That's correct.
Correct. Yeah, there'll be a nice enclosure around it.
Okay, so that's an improvement. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. That's my only concern was where the retaining wall was going to be moved to. Where it looks like it's going to be pretty much in the same place, or than 2 feet. So I don't have a problem.
Luke, is your plan to cutting down any trees back there, or is it, because I see like the satellite, I'm just looking at Google Maps and I see like lawn and then I see some trees. Your plan to cut down any trees, or?
I don't think there's really going to be very many trees, if any, that are going to be cut down. It's kind of sloped. It's kind of sloped right now back there, so it'll be kind of graded properly to the point where we will just, we'll be able to throw the retaining wall in. But I don't think any of the trees are going to need to be cut at this point.
Well, there is a couple trees very close to that fence in there.
Yeah, so it's gonna. Yeah, as we
really.
kind of lay everything out, we'll make that decision. But as it stands right now, I think likely no.
Is there any plan for trees to be built on top of that retaining wall as a screen?
So it's not a solid plan just yet, but we do have a landscape plan that we're currently working on that we'll submit with everything else.
How many parking lots? Sorry.
Excuse me?
I was going to ask about the lighting there. Is there going to be tall floodlights and additional? I assume there'll be floodlights for the parking lot.
Yeah, we have a ample lighting for the parking lot itself. We may have some additional lighting on the inside the carports themselves.
Okay, I see. As long as it doesn't shine over onto my house directly.
And do you have enough space for parking? for 27 units.
Yes, yeah. Under our current plan, we actually have, I think the plan we submitted had 51 spaces, which is more than adequate for the 27 units.
We seek no relief from the zoning requirements for parking. It will meet the zoning requirements for parking.
So is there existing illumination out there?
There is.
And what are you talking about? It seems a little unclear on whether you're looking to improve upon it and expand upon it or not. Are you?
The applicant intends to probably use new fixtures, but they're going to use existing lighting. He suggested that the additional lighting that may be is going to be inside the carports and under the carports to facilitate the use of the carports.
So there will be no spillover to the neighboring lots?
No, I don't. I wouldn't want there to be any.
Okay. And the hours of illumination, is this dusk to dawn?
Yeah, I would think so, just for safety purposes.
Is there going to be security cameras there in the back too?
Absolutely. I include as much technology when it comes to security cameras, 24-hour surveillance, and that's the other part of this building is that the amount of technology, access control, and all that stuff that we're going to be doing as well.
Yeah, because people could access our street or access my house through the parking lot. So,
yeah.
People you'll pass through there.
24-hour surveillance is really what we do for all of our commercial properties.
Okay, great. That's great.
Yep.
Can you specify? Oh, sorry.
Me.
Go ahead, Dr. Williams.
Luke, is there going to be any on-site management? How do you plan to manage the property?
Sure. So there's not going to be any on-site management. On-site management is typically reserved for 40+ unit complexes, but we constantly have people in the area, and we will have someone on site just about every day doing various things.
Could you expand on that a little bit? I mean, when you say that there's somebody is close by or nearby and somebody will give me a for instance, please.
Correct. For instance, we get a call into our call center. There's a leaky pipe. We have various vendors that we work with throughout Sinsbury and surrounding areas that will be made familiar with the building. In addition to, we have several full-time managers that work on our properties throughout the rest of the state that are on call 24/7.
Just as a curiosity thing, did you consider doing solar panels on the carports?
That's a really good point. I'm not against it. It's definitely something we're exploring.
And I apologize, I was late to the meeting, but for screening, is there any additional landscaping screening being proposed? I didn't see any between you and your abutting neighbors.
With great appreciation for your service, we'll be at the design review board with all kinds of details like that. The focus of the ZBA is to get us through the initial enablement stage so that we can put together a plan for you and get it to you.
Right. No, I understand, but it would be, ensuring when we consider a variance, we want to protect the neighbors. So that is something we would still consider at this point, even though we drill down on what particular landscaping on DRB, it still would be a consideration for protecting the neighbors at this stage of the variance.
I can assure you that this applicant wants to comply with anything he can do to make this fit into that neighborhood like a glove. We expressed that when we start our presentation, and he'll consider anything that neighbors specify or that makes sense to make it fit in.
Yeah, if that's a major concern of yours, if it's deemed necessary, or even if it's something extra, I'm open to doing whatever it takes to really improve the property and keep it keep it so the neighbors are happy with the screening and not overly feeling that they're being intruded by the improvements.
Yeah, we just want everyone to be happy. That's the goal, not to, impede. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Are you making considerations for charge reports in the future, since this is a luxury apartment? Maybe they'll need to require charge reports at some point on some of the spaces, or most of them, in the years ahead.
So I have a question, since this is being considered luxury. So the fact that they're being considered luxury, then we know the size of them, the square footage?
Yeah, so I'd mentioned earlier, I don't have the exact square footages of all the units just yet. I know how many units we're putting on each floor. We're playing with the floor plans a little bit to see how to make them the most functional. First floor will have 7 units, and the second and third floor will each have 10 units.
Right, but I was figuring that you might have approximate. So
like a 1-bedroom might be somewhere in the 700 plus or minus range, and efficiency might be in the 550 plus or minus range. But that's like really preliminary at this point. So we're really
so it's going to be efficiencies in 1-bedrooms. That's correct. About it.
Yep. Yeah. Nice materials, granite countertops. Nice custom kitchen cabinets, and it's just nice finishes. We want to be a nice asset to the community, and create a nice place for people to live.
Yeah.
Did you hear my last question? I don't know if you heard me.
I'm sorry, I did not.
Okay, it was about were you going to put charge reports in there for the future, since it's luxury?
That's actually, I'm happy you mentioned that. If the town will allow it, I think we would consider putting a couple in, for sure. But that's not like, obviously we're not here talking about that, but that's something to seriously consider. So.
Okay, but I'm saying you may need them on a lot of spaces in the years ahead of the way things are going with these electric cars.
Yeah.
Will that mean another variance change if you have to add additional or a lot of those in the next few years?
That's a good question, but the zoning, the land use agencies in Simsbury are pretty tuned into that, and I think that they'll bring along changes in regulations if necessary to make sure that you can have those a lot of places.
Okay. Also, I wanted to ask, I didn't catch it. Was there a plan to get this done once it's approved? How long will the construction go on, or when it will be going on? When you close the hotel and take the pool out and stuff. It sounds like it might make there might be a lot of activity there for a while.
Yeah. It's right now we're projecting like a 12 to 16 month time period from start to finish.
Okay.
So how does that 12 to 16 month time period affect the traffic in the area?
I think really no different than a regular just people living there. You have contractors coming and go in certain times of days, but there's other than when we redo the parking lot, maybe you have a couple of days where we might need to get some stuff coordinated to get the apron redone and whatnot. But other than that, it really shouldn't.
Your building department imposes significant controls on that, and it's a proper area for concern. But if we're in the street doing any utilities or hooking up new service or anything, they'll be specified times when they want us to do it, and they'll also specify requirements of possibly police to protect the site and the traffic.
And can you expand on your hardship, please?
The hardship
is?
Yes, our articulated hardship is that the property is as it is seems to be going down a little bit. It's functionally obsolete. It's as a inn and as a rental space. It doesn't fit the scale or scope of what you have to do to be successful, and so we claim that the functional obsolescence of it causes us to need these types of minor enablements so that Mr. Florian can make the significant investment that he wishes to do to bring this up to a state-of-the-art facility with great functionality for the community.
Is there any plans to convert it to condominiums at some point?
That's not in his business model. The zoning,
No.
no is a better answer than that.
No, never. That's not what I do.
Okay.
Luke, I'm sure you've done your research on the target that you want to inhabit the building.
Sure.
I'm just curious, in your mindset, a one-room efficiency, and again, I know you said it's not for sure, but you're talking 500 square feet, granite countertops. I want to know what type of individual you're targeting that would live in a 500 square foot space with that type of luxury.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, you have a lot of your area restaurant workers, or your young professionals, or people downsizing that just don't want to they just don't want to take care of this big house anymore, or they just, I have people that are selling their properties in and around Simsbury, and talking to people, doing some market research. There's like, yeah, I'd love to have just rent a crash pad in the beautiful town of Simsbury because we bought a house in the Carolinas or Florida, and we want to have a place to come back to and hang out and be with our kids. So there's a number of different types of people, but that's generally what our target is. And again, I'm not, the 27 units not also set in stone too. So we're still playing with floor plans and whatnot as well. So that's why I didn't want to give specifics on square footages too. So. The market expresses
that there's a need for this, and this is an underserved part of the housing population of the town of Simsbury. The zoning regulations of the state of Connecticut specify that all sorts of sizes and economics of folks. That's expressed in the enablement for zoning itself, and the Simsbury Plan of Conservation Development expressly states that it wants diverse housing to serve multiple sectors, and this is an underserved sector, and that's why I'm hopeful that you'll pass favorably on this.
Is this for rental purpose or sale purpose?
It's for rental purposes.
Month to month, year? What are we talking?
Excuse me. We do minimum 12-month leases, and we have a rolling lease schedule. So what that means, internally, what that means for our management is anytime we have someone moving in, usually in the winter, we will extend it out. We'll do 13 to 18-month leases, depending on when they're moving in. We just don't like to have vacancies in the winter. So.
But earlier you said people were going to come home from Florida, so that doesn't work.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
A home apartment rental is not going to work for someone who's living in Florida in the winter and then comes to Simsbury in the summer.
Mr. Chairman.
Josh, are you here? Josh?
Yes.
Josh, take control. Keep us on tact.
Okay.
We need to deal with only the scope that we deal with, please.
Okay. Yes, I think the economics of it isn't our concern here. That's whether it works or not, that's going to be the owner's concern to deal with. That's not something I think we need to worry about. I do have a question of, so if we were to not give you the 2-foot variance, would you be able to work in enough parking spots to meet the minimum number of spots you need? Or do you absolutely need that 2 feet in order to meet the minimum number of spots?
What the applicant did here, Mr. Chairman, is took the property, answered the opportunity to make a bid on a property that was for sale, and to put in a functional plan. The specifics and specifications for parking spaces are they're in your regulations and everything else. I think that this shows to you that the dimensions, the requirements for the 51 spaces and the dimensions of the individual spaces plus the through lane pretty much demonstrate that that's exactly what they need.
Okay, so this is you cannot meet the minimum number of spaces with less space while keeping it within the bounds, is what you're saying.
Not without herniating yourself. I mean, could you put some to the north of the property and encroach toward the apartments? I don't know.
Okay.
It's a rational and reasonable and appropriate design.
Okay, and I just wanted to make sure, because we do need the hardship. So I just wanted to make sure that, you do need this in order to, meet a minimum standard here.
Thank you. Yes.
I do have a question about the parking versus the number of apartments. Because you're looking, your hardship is for the parking, one of them is for the parking. But how do the parking spaces that are available now compare to the, I guess, hotel rooms that are available? Because aren't you just going to turn the hotel rooms that are already there into the apartments? So wouldn't you already have enough parking spaces or no?
That's an economic decision made by the developer. It's rational. We've checked it out with town staff. It makes sense. It's a good plan. And whether you could get by with one or two less spots doesn't relate to what we're requesting here. We're saying that the design that we present to you and the location that it is a very sound, rational plan, which will allow us to adaptively reuse this building and get it back in a very highly functional mode, contributing to the town.
Can I ask why a diagonal spot couldn't be considered, relieving you of the need for a variance?
Because it reduces your yield of spots.
Not if you go to the north, as you mentioned, if you point them towards the north.
Then you need a variance to the north line. I mean, this is a good sound plan. I mean, you're trying to do this. I don't know why.
Because we don't want to grant variances just for the heck of it. There has to be a hardship that it can't be done any other way, not just because it's the easiest way. That's why I'm asking if there is another way that's been considered. It is relevant.
They had full consideration. We had a professional engineer. I could bring him in to have a discussion with you, but we did talk about that, and this was the plan that they wanted, and this is the plan that makes sense. No one knows more about parking spaces on this board than you, Mr. Commissioner.
Well, all right. Well, that answers my question. So thank you for that.
I have a question, probably more for the chair based on rules. Are we able to table this application and actually hear from the engineer? Because we do have another application to hear from. So could we table it for next month? And then Mr. Donahue could bring the engineer in and share about the parking spots and whatnot? Is that allowed based on the rules?
Laura, is that something we could do? Could we table it? Is it,
And
we have a month?
keep the public hearing open. The actual date of receipt technically is today, even though the application was dropped off beforehand. You do have 35 days to open the public hearing, 65 days once the public hearing is open, and then 35 after it's closed to deliberate.
Okay. I mean, if someone wants to make that motion, I'll entertain it, but.
I'll make the motion that we table this. Are we meeting in August, Laura?
Let me see. That's a good question.
I hate that part of our schedule. It impedes progress.
August is that month that a lot of boards take off.
Can we decide to have a meeting even though other boards have it off?
You could have a special meeting, certainly.
I thought so.
I do not see a regular meeting scheduled for August. It would have normally been on the 25th.
On the 25th?
Mm-hmm.
I can make it on the 25th. Can the other commissioners?
I can. Is there anyone that couldn't make it?
Some of us are on another committee that is changing the meeting that month to that night. However, I'm sure we all could make it to this meeting. I definitely can. I wonder if others could.
I can too.
Okay.
I'm free.
And I'm just checking back. I can't, it's okay.
And I'm looking at the official schedule on the website, and it looks like it does have the August 25th as being listed as a regular meeting.
That's what I checked too. It says August 25th is there.
Yeah, we made that decision earlier this year with the director of planning.
Oh, okay.
It is.
So with that being said, I propose that we do table this for further discussion with the engineer to fully understand and comprehend that there is no other options than the granting of the variance. We need the hardship to be validated, for lack of another word. And I also want to make sure we protect the neighbors in doing so too. We want to make this, I hate to use the term lucrative, viable for the investor. We most certainly want to assist in the development of this property into something than a defunct motel, but we also want to protect the neighbors and not overstep where we don't have to. So that was a long-winded motion, but is there anyone that comprehended it that would like to second it?
I'll second it.
All right. All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, looks like the motion carries unanimously. All right, so that will be tabled to our next meeting.
Thanks very much. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you for your understanding. We look forward to moving you forward. I just want to make sure
Thanks,
we do
guys.
it right.
Yeah, appreciate all your input.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. And so, let's see, it looks like we're going to move on to application 21-11 of Richard Felcher.
It's Fletcher, actually.
Fletcher, sorry, my mistake.
No problem.
All right. And is there, I see you're here. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'm the applicant and the homeowner. Pretty straightforward from my perspective. We have a corner lot, so we technically have two front yard setbacks. We want to add an accessory storage, basically a storage shed in what we think of as the backyard in terms of how we use it. And the most logical place to put it, and likely the least site preparation based on the topography of our yard, with slopes more as you get further away from the road. We would like to put it within the front yard setback. There's pictures, and I have a letter from my neighbor, the only abutting property, and he has no concern about the placement of this shed. And from the standpoint of visibility from the roads, it's equally either place. If we put it without the variance, or we put it with the variance, no difference in terms of what's visible from the streets. I don't know, Laura, you and I worked through this. Anything you would add from your site visit?
Well, I'll first see if the commission or the board has any questions about the application. I did visit the site. I did see the staked out location. I believe there is a photograph of it. The slope from the road would hide a portion of the shed. They also do have wetlands on the property, a culvert, so it would limit some of the location and choices. And he would like to keep the trees, so without including site work of tree removal.
Okay. Looking at the pictures that we have here in the site plan, I can see exactly what you're talking about, where the land slopes up. It does look like that is the most reasonable place to put it. Are there any other commissioners that have any questions?
Can you just clarify the stakes? Is that in the pictures? That's where the shed is going to go?
Yes.
Okay. And where does it go? It slopes up from?
If you move, it would be north from Old Meadow Plain, because we're on the corner of Pine Glen and Old Meadow Plain. If you move north from Old Meadow Plain into the sort of the back left corner of our backyard, it's much more sloping. There's a picture there of the slope. So the further away you get from where we want to put it, it's more sloping. And then you have the boulder that is also sort of cuts right into the backyard. So it just would make it a very tough place to put it otherwise than from a usage standpoint than where we hope to put it.
Yeah, and from the third picture you provided, it looks like the roads in the background. You really aren't the shed is going to be out of view. It seems like, especially the trees look like they're hiding it a little bit there.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And those are evergreens too, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
We have evergreens and oak trees actually, so it's pretty full.
Okay. One thing I will acknowledge that he didn't bring it up. If this were not a corner lot, we wouldn't even need the variance for this. We are solely here because he has a corner lot, which we've seen in the past. If this was just a normal lot, he'd be allowed to put this in it. I just wanted to acknowledge that because it's relevant.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from commissioners? All right, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak about this? All right. And then at this point, would it be a motion to close discussion, or as chair, I just close it? Okay. All right. So, hey, if no one else would like to speak, I'm going to close discussion on application 21-11. So at this point, we can no longer hear statements from the community. And then would someone like to make a motion to begin discussion on it, right? Or to
I don't think we really just start talking, Josh.
We just start talking. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead. Do you want to start, Josh, or?
No, I was just going to say that I think this is pretty clear cut. It seems that that's the only real reasonable place on the property to put the this shed. And again, if, as you were saying earlier, if it wasn't for being a corner lot, this wouldn't be an issue to begin with. So there's a clear hardship of it being a corner lot.
I also want to point out that the one neighbor that took the time to respond was in favor of this project, which is also relevant. You know, I'm a big guy, not big guy, please don't call me a big guy. But you know, I'm a firm believer in supporting the neighbors' rights when they are opposed and also when they are in agreement. And I think it's another check mark that someone went to the effort of saying they were good with it and nobody else went to any effort. So that counts a little bit for me in the decision making as well.
Yeah, like you said, there is corner lot, one thing, and neighbors are okay with this. And also the trees are, kind of blocking it. So it's not visible from the road, I think. Yeah, I'm okay with this too.
So without further ado, am I cutting anyone off first and foremost? Okay, then I'd like to make a motion that we approve application 21-11 of Richard Felcher, owner applicant for a variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.5.1, to construct a 10-foot by 16-foot shed within the front yard at the property located at 66 Pine Glen Road. The hardship being the topography of and elevations of the parcel, as well as the setback lines of a double front yard setback, also known as a corner lot, being an undue burden upon him.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Wow, that was a tie.
Yeah.
Total. Josh, you got to call it.
Do we have, is there, oh, okay. Who was that? Was that Ali and Mark? Was that, or Shannon?
Sharon got it.
I didn't
Sharon
say
got
a
it.
thing.
You can, I was gonna say.
I wasn't sure which of you it was. All right. Looks like Sharon seconded it. All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Looks like the motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to come before our board.
Have a good night.
All right. Thank you
Good
as
night.
well. All right. And then let's see. At this point is have we gotten anyone in for application 21-9 at this point? No. All right. At this point, would we need a motion to table it to the next meeting, or is that something as chair I could just do?
You could table it. You could look at the application. You could open the public hearing. It's actually up to you. The applicant was notified of it tonight. I have received no correspondence from them stating that they would not be here. It's an application for stairs also within the front yard setback. The applicant's Tom Nigro. I was under the impression he was going to be here tonight.
Could we table it? I feel like it would.
We can, but it almost seems like a pretty small variance. I mean, did everyone have the time to review it?
We could, I would say, could we just review it and then?
Yeah, we can totally do it.
Okay,
It's just an option for them to sort of present their case before we deliberate. We would have an open discussion. If any neighbors or anyone wants to weigh in with their point, then as typical, we would close it and we could vote on it. Or we could at that time decide to table it. At any point, we can table it.
Okay. So at this point, are there anyone from the community who would like to speak?
Yeah, this is Seth Joseph. I just want to know if I'm getting notification on the further, there's going to be a further meeting in August about the hotel. I just want to know if I'll be notified that by email or whatever, if there's any changes or with that regarding to that meeting.
Mr. Joseph, this isn't really the appropriate time for it. I'd be happy to contact you tomorrow when I'm in the office and I can let you know as far as the scheduling.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks.
Not a problem.
Have a good night.
Thank you. So Josh, where were we? Bring us back.
Yeah. So is there anyone that would like to speak as to from the public as to application? Which one was it again? It was 21-9. Okay. So seeing no one, I'd like to move to discussion on this, or move to close the hearing and move to discussion. All right.
Okay.
All right. So
go ahead.
right.
I was going to say that when I looked at it, and the reason I mentioned maybe we want to move forward on this is it seems pretty obvious, and I hate to impede someone adding a second form of egress. You know, that's something that we want them to do. So if there's nowhere else for them to put another form of egress, with the consideration of whether it was handicapped accessible, but that's going to go further into, you know, a variance. So the stairs are actually the lesser of the two evils. I'm inclined to look upon this favorably, but of course we all carry equal weight. And I am also interested if somebody has something that maybe I overlooked before I came to that persuasion.
So what is the variance? Variance is, you know, we should not be building steps in the front yard, or is it, you know, size, distance?
Well, the whole building's in the setback, so it's like a catch-22. You know, if they're going to do anything to this building, they're automatically before us. So that's the hardship, is that the house is where it is.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I pulled up the map, and it's clear if they do anything at all there, they're well within the setback. Yeah. So I see no reason why we shouldn't approve this personally. Anyone else have anything to add? No. All right. Is there a motion to accept the application?
I'll make a motion, keep it moving. I make a motion that we approve application 21-09 of Tom and Laura Nigro, owners applicants, for a variance pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.9, to allow a stairwell within the front yard setback at the property located at 41 Canal Street. It is a R15 zone. The hardship being, this is listed on our town records as a two-family structure, but it only has one area of egress, if I understood right at this time. So the hardship is to get a second form of egress, which would assist us in a safe structure. This hardship would need to be granted. And the house is within the setback, so the hardship is that any accessories onto this house would also fall into that setback area. Sorry.
All right. And is there any second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, looks like the motion carries unanimously. All right. So at this point, do I need to do anything before moving on to approval of minutes?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Is there any discussion about the minutes?
I
Well,
didn't see him. Was that me?
yeah, I didn't see him either.
It's just about
Yeah, I
to
didn't take a
mention
look
that.
either.
I don't believe they made it into the Dropbox today. My apologies. I will.
No
I will-
worries. Who cares? Josh, you need to
Okay.
table it.
Okay. Yeah, we can table it till the next meeting then. All right. Hey, I'll table it to the next meeting. At this point, I think I'm only looking for one more motion.